Hello there everyone, it's Aidan here from Push Square, and today's a special day because we have our final preview for Final Fantasy 16 along with some brand new 4K gameplay. Our website editor Sammy was lucky enough to be invited out to get about 4 hours of hands-on time with this highly anticipated release, and no, I'm not jealous at all, I swear. That means that today's video is made up of Sammy's beautiful penmanship from the Push Square website and adapted into a video by yours truly. So without further ado, let's get into our final preview for Final Fantasy 16. Earlier in the year, after playing through a tailored demo designed specifically to showcase Final Fantasy 16's combat systems, we described the action-heavy PS5 exclusive as a bona fide Game of the Year contender. With publisher Square Enix seemingly intent on showing as much of the sequel as possible, we've since played several more hours of the release and our opinions largely remain unchanged. However, glowing as we were in that initial assessment, we did come away from our latest demo a little less impressed. We got to play a lot of the game, including the entire first chapter and a meaningful chunk of the next one. As we mentioned in our previous preview, the presentation is on par with what you would expect from a Sony first-party title, and the developer deserves credit for seriously improving the quality of both the script and the voice acting compared to past entries, and all without losing any of the distinctive anime-inspired qualities that make Final Fantasy, well, Final Fantasy. The opening is breathless, although we'd argue that that's to the title's detriment. While we're already familiar with the overarching fiction from past presentations, the world of Valisthea is broken up into several different regions, all surrounding a neutral venue called the Crystalline Dominion, which comprises the epicenter of the story. We still struggle to keep up with the politics in the opening cutscenes, and frankly, we felt a little lost. This is probably intentional, as the game does pull the classic storytelling trick of starting out in the middle of a massive battle before pumping the brakes and turning back time. When you reassume control of the unfortunately named Clive Rosefield, you'll find him training in the Grand Duchy of Rosaria, his home realm. This location has a strong European flavour to it, with medieval turrets, farming materials and market traders. The training you complete here, observed by engaged onlookers including Clive's younger brother Joshua, doubles as a tutorial for the gameplay. Unlike in our past demo, this time we were able to switch to the title's performance mode, and were satisfied with the fluidity and pace of the action at 60 frames per second. While this is a stunning looking game throughout, it's breakneck, borderline Devil May Cry style combat that deserves to be played with a more responsive refresh rate. There is room to explore the Grand Duchy of Rosaria, and there's even NPCs that you can stop and communicate with. But these opening moments largely funnel you towards your next objective marker, as the title slowly introduces you to its cast of characters. The game is not subtle at all about teasing its villains, but the melodrama is appreciated, and the direction of the cutscenes definitely draws you in. It's light years apart from the era of Tidus guffawing like a goon. With the tutorials out of the way, it wasn't long before we were ushered back out into the field, this time a squelchy bog-like environment inhabited by all different kinds of triffids and organic inhabitants. The game is pretty relentless with its pacing, segueing from one set-piece encounter to another. One particular foe that lived long in our memory is named the Morble, an enormous sentient root with chomping teeth and toxic breath. Our biggest concern coming out of this opening sequence is that Clive is restricted to just one set of Akon powers, with more presumably unlocked as you progress through the campaign. Without these other abilities to draw upon, however, we found the combat to quickly feel stale in one note. We understand that the developer doesn't want to overwhelm players, but we fear that opening hours, at least until more abilities are unlocked, could quickly get repetitive. Nevertheless, narratively, things escalate quite quickly in this opening chapter, and while we're hesitant to outline the exact chain of events, we'll just say that it sets up the story in pretty spectacular fashion with some truly outlandish events. The development team has clearly taken inspiration from God of War, specifically the classic PS2, PS3 era entries, and dreamed up some larger than life scenarios to anchor the campaign around. Later on in the demo, we get to take control of an older Clive who's been helped by accomplice Sid into an underground hideaway. It's here that the game does start to display some more of its cracks. In-engine cutscenes lack the same level of gloss and polish as the main cinematics, and while it's clear that retaining consistent quality across a 50-hour adventure would have been near impossible, the step down in character models and animation is quite stark. Still, you can explore this area as much or as little as you'd like, fashioning new equipment from raw materials and even engaging with an otherworldly training gauntlet which allows you to practice and hone your skills. While our demo largely required us to chat with a specific string of characters, it's easy to imagine how this will evolve into becoming one of your hubs of operation later on as you choose to embark on different quests. We ended up back out in the field with Sid and our trusted dog companion Torgal, this time marching through a much more idyllic forest environment, albeit one still infested with animated plant life and vicious wolves. One thing that continuously impressed us is how the game is consistently able to raise the stakes, with one giant enemy making way for another, in this instance a scaled reptilian-like beast named Fafnir. All the foes are obsessively animated and their specific attack patterns raise unique challenges. While we were politely asked to stop playing at this point, Square Enix had prepared save points later in the game whereby we were able to engage with some of Final Fantasy XVI's more open-ended gameplay. As has been noted multiple times, this game is not open world, but there are sizable hub-like areas that you can explore. We spent a bit of time here drinking in the scenery and putting down some of the local wildlife before picking up a side quest in a nearby town. If you like the freedom that sandbox games provide, then you may be disappointed with the scale of these, as the area we got to poke around in was not particularly vast. But it's clear that these sections will break up the monotony of more linear environments, allowing you a little more room to stretch your legs. Thus we reckon the developers have struck a nice balance between creating the illusion of some exploration without going entirely open world. Still, even in this area we were restricted to just 2 of Clive's Acon powers, and we were starting to feel the onset monotony at this point of our playthrough. It's really our only niggling concern. We're confident that the complicated nature of the story will come together, but we're worried that the combat may be a little too long to truly find its feet, as your options are seriously limited throughout these opening hours. The worry may ultimately turn out to be misplaced, as our hands-on was largely confined to the opening hours of the campaign, and in the tailor-made combat-focused demo from earlier in the year, we fell in love with the sheer wealth of options available to Clive, which is where we assume the system will end up once you've progressed beyond the opening hours. So yes, we very much still believe there's a Game of the Year contender looming here, but we've identified a couple of minor issues that we still need to be answered by the final release. And that was our final preview of Final Fantasy XVI before its PlayStation release on June 22nd. Let us know what you thought of this new gameplay and whether you plan on checking the game out next month. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel for more PlayStation video content, including our eventual Final Fantasy XVI review. But anyway, thank you everyone for watching. I've been Aaron, and I'll catch you in the next one.